I've felt like I've been brave, but I would be even more braver. I think we live in a world right now where I'm not the biggest fan of it, like your personal brand, all that stuff. But it does work where you see a lot of people who are just brave in exposing themselves to the world, and they do that. Like, I'm sure they have like a thing that makes them feel embarrassed when they see themselves, but it's not a factor that prevents them from doing their thing. I think that's what I would be better at. I'd be better at self promo because I sometimes cringe.
Blinky Bill is a Kenyan producer, artist, and DJ reshaping East Africa's sound with a fearless blend of hip-hop, funk, and jazz. Rising from the groundbreaking collective Just a Band, he's built a global career with projects like We Cut Keys 2 and collaborations with Childish Gambino, Sampa The Great, and Chance the Rapper. Known for electrifying performances and cultural influence, Blinky Bill continues to push Nairobi's scene onto global stages. Content is just such a special place, bro. There's so many special things. I think we need to do much more. It's just great that like people like yourself. I also like Akio. He comes out there. I don't know if you've met him before. Yeah. He's also always.
He actually came to my show.
Okay, dope.
Because I had a show with Muzi earlier this year.
Okay,
and he came out.
He's always raving about it, bro. He's like, dog, Kenya.
And Kenya is such a it's a kept secret in a sense.
Yeah.
Like when people think about Africa, they'll most likely be talking about Nigeria or South Africa, maybe but I think Kenya is quite likely, to me, the next in line, because we've been knocking at the door for such a long time and we've never really had our time in the sun proper.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it feels like that's next. When you look at the everything that's happening, that feels like the place that's next.
Yeah, it feels.
But thank you, bro. Thank you for making time. And I appreciate you so much, bro. Like you are such a legend, bro. And I can't wait to get into your story to learn more about you, bro. You're someone I've always admired.
Yeah.
I see you in the same light as I see Black Coffee, as I see some of the biggest legends in our country, bro. And it's just a matter of time till everybody connects and understands what you really do. I don't doubt in your own country they see you in that light, bro. But I just know from the moment I got to meet you, from the first time I got to see you play, bro, the first time I got to see you play was, in fact, at Little Gig.
I was telling Georgia, and she was like, what?
I walked past the stage, I saw you perform, and I was just like, bro, the way you brought everybody together, just your understanding, your selection, and just like putting people onto music. I remember sitting there like, I can't find this on Shazam. Where did he get this? What is this? Who is this guy? And I remember Ken Zero, I think, introducing us at some point, and I was just like,
man, you have such a good memory.
Yeah.
Because I remember, now that you're saying it, I remember it like how it happened. But it's kind of like tucked in my subconscious.
Yeah, it's all good, bro. You know why people look the same. It's fine. My bro, tell me something. If we are if you're in some sort of space and someone doesn't know who you are, what you do, how do you best, and it's some sort of people of some sort of importance that you're around, how do you best articulate what you do? Do you lead with like musician first, artist, producer? You wear so many hats in this industry, but if you met someone for the first time, how would you best articulate what you do?
I say I'm a producer artist.
Okay.
But I think that I'm very much influenced by the J Dillers, those guys, the people who like don't really stick with one thing for. So, like some people, them because they're always making house music or they're always making hip hop or I do so many things. And that's what I lead with, that I'm a producer artist.
I love that. That's the producer first. It's
Yeah.
like that's ingrained in your
It's
identity. I love that.
because honestly, when I'm writing songs or when I'm making music, I'll sometimes like I'll be playing it on guitar or I'll be like programming that stuff. But then a lot of the times I'm always thinking of the production of it. And like over the years now I've started really thinking about how do I communicate as clearly as possible. Because there was a time when I'm producing, I'd feel like sometimes you want to throw in so many things to show that you're a good producer. But then I think over time, I'm beginning to realize that it's more of how clearly can you communicate the idea that you've been given so that people can understand it.
That's so powerful, bro. So you're thinking of the music, even the lyrics and melody. You're thinking of melodies. You're thinking of how and why something holds a space in that song. That's so powerful, bro.
Yeah.
That's so powerful.
So that's really what is motivating me right now, because one, I've done this for a long time.
Yeah.
And two, there's sometimes when I look back at some ideas where I was probably like punching above my weight in terms of the production of it, where like I'm comparing it to when I'm listening to like a Pharrell or something. I'm just like, man, I want to make stuff like that. But I'm from Nairobi and I'm from Africa. So I'm punching over there, but my technique, I still need to work on it. Then over time, like my technique has gotten better. And now I'm just like, I want to be more. It's good that I was inspired by them, but now I just want to be more me.
Amazing, bro. That's powerful. Tell me something, bro. If we're watching a Netflix documentary on your life one day, right?
Yeah.
And then that Netflix logo goes, what is the beginning of your story, bro? How would that documentary open? What would be that opening shot? And what would be, or if we're reading your autobiography one day, your book, like what's that opening chapter, bro?
I think that's a tough one. That's a good one. I think maybe you start from the beginning and you go to Nairobi. And I come from a humble background. We used to live in a place called Eastleigh in the Eastlands of Nairobi. And honestly, when I was a kid, I used to my dad used to play tapes, so a lot of Franco, and then on radio you'd be listening to a lot of pop music. And funny enough, there's a lot of South African music that used to really play on Kenyan radio. And I'm sure that's the same for a lot of artists around Africa.
What do you remember? What was what comes to mind?
I feel like I remember Brenda Fassie, Chico, those guys. But the music was so groovy. And then, so I was absorbing it. And then when I was going to school, we have something called matatus. It's like minibuses.
Yeah.
But the Kenyan matatus, the Kenyan minibuses are crazy. They're graffiti on wheels.
Crazy.
So there's a lot of art and expression of art. So that you'll see a lot of hip hop artists, a lot of whoever is a big celebrity of the time is going to be plastered on this 14-seater bus.
Wow.
And
bro.
It has the loudest music. And so I'd be going to school and you'd be hearing in the morning, they'd be playing a lot of R&B and a lot of hip hop. And so I'd be hearing Dr. Dre, ching, 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 and on the big speakers. And I'd be wondering, why does Kenyan music not sound like this? I had that perception of there's something that is missing for me. I didn't feel like the drums hit hard enough. And it planted that seed. And then my mom used to work with, she was in church a lot. And so she'd end up, in between church and her work, she ended up traveling across the world. So she'd go to France for work sometimes. and then come back to our little house. And so because of that, it made me realize that, yeah, I'm in a poor side of the city, but like I'm being exposed to, there's a bigger world out there. And so there's a time she went to Egypt and she came back and she was on a camel and you could see the pyramids at the back. So for a young kid like me, the environment I was just like, I can see the environment where I'm at, but also I'm understanding that there's a bigger world. So I don't need to be trapped in the realities of now and where I'm at. It's like, right. And so I'd be telling people I want to make music, but also I want to see the world. And no one would understand it because it feels like a dream, because we're in the hood, bro. We're not.
It's far away.
It's far away. Like you feel like you're hallucinating or something, or you're dreaming too hard. But then, so that's where I would start. Is just like
that early context.
Because that early context, and which I guess happens with every human being, is that early context helps you really understand as things unravel over time, like what gives you that drive.
Yes.
Yeah. And also, so it's that mixture of, hip hop is really, if you listen to my music, there's a very strong hip hop bounce in it. But also over time now, I started picking up all these influences from everywhere. So if I'm from Kenya, like I'm listening to all these guys from this side of the world, from Cameroon, from Ghana, from Nigeria. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about Kenya, is that we are probably the most open-minded African country in terms of how accepting we are of other people's sounds. I know almost every week there's a DJ from South Africa playing in Nairobi.
Oh, 100%.
Almost every week.
No, you guys are so on it in terms of what's also happening across the whole continent, just in terms of bookings, in terms of who's coming out, and across genres, across like dance, whether it's performance, mapiano, Afro-tech, like there's something happening and there's someone bringing someone out and there's an audience coming to see that person.
And they're so crazy, passionate. Like it's like Afro house, Afro-tech has become so big in the last few years. And I wish there was much more of a curiosity amongst Africans. Be like, if we know this much about you, then you could also do your homework and be like, okay, what's going on there? Like, you know? And it's across, like I've played around Africa a lot, and I've realized that it's one of the real positives that I can say I'll attribute to Kenya, is that wherever someone is coming from, like I produced this song for an artist from Cape Verde a couple of years ago. And then I went to her page to listen to some music. I was checking out her other stuff. And then one of the videos, I'm just like, you're seeing, not the one I produced, something else. And like, Love from Kenya. I'm like, wait, what? This music doesn't even play on Kenyan radio. How do you find it? And that's something that I enjoy about us.
That's incredible. Shout out to Suraj and who's some of the guys doing their thing.
Yeah,
there.
in fact, Suraj was here.
Yeah.
I think he was here. I talked to him yesterday. He was like, I saw a photo that looked like Table Mountain. I'm like, yo, bro, where you are?
I love that, bro. Yeah. I love that. Tell me, when does your path cross, like, is it the first instrument you pick up, or that first time you sing, or that first door that you work on, or what? Like, when was the first time that the production bug bites you or your path crosses with someone who's doing it, and how does that happen?
So again, it's gonna go. A lot of my story is tied to my mom.
Yeah.
Is that she used to have a guitar, and she used to play like simple chords. And when I finished high school, I don't know if you guys have that here, but you have like 2 years to figure out where you're gonna go. If your parents are loaded, like you can go immediately to university. But for the average person, you have 2 years to wait till they sort you out for whichever course you're gonna take in college.
Okay.
And so my mom used to have this old beat up guitar. And I remember one day I just picked it up, started playing. And in high school, I'd started writing my own music a little bit. And then at that point, like I started really getting into it, and I just attached myself to people who are also playing so that I could learn. So I've never really had a musical education in that sense.
That's crazy.
But I've always been like around people who are playing music. So I'd siphon some of the knowledge that they had to myself. And then eventually we went to college. I was studying sports science. I hated it. But fortunately, like I met some guy. There was a guy who I was with in high school. He's called Jim, and he's a super, super brilliant artist, Jim Chuchu. And we're like, yo, he was studying IT. And we're like, man, we need to start a band. And then there was another guy who was also in Jim's class. He was also studying IT. And we're like, man, let's start this imaginary band. At that time, we were listening to a lot of Daft Punk, a lot of Basement Jaxx, Bjork, those guys.
Crazy.
And which is music that is not necessarily playing on Kenyan radio, but we leaned towards the things that are not your everyday sounds. And we started this band called Just a Band in college. And then we have this vision of, one day we're gonna play in like all these foreign places. That time we've never played a show once. And eventually the band started, and it was everyone was so highly skilled in terms of Jim is a movie maker and he's a photographer at the time. So he'd make the album covers and the music. And so everything we produced in-house when we dropped out of college.
Crazy.
We're just like, this path is not going where we want to.
Crazy, man.
And so we started the band, and the first record we put out was called Scratch to Reveal, which was very funk influence. It's like you could hear a bit of Jamiroquai in there, a bit of Daft Punk in there, a bit of Kenyan sounds in. So, and that's always been my thing, is just like I wanna fuse all these sounds, and also with the band, I feel like we were made to protect each other. Like each of us had a candle, and there's nothing in Kenya that sounds like that at that time. So everybody, we needed to band together to make this thing work, because otherwise individually it would have been super, super tough.
Crazy.
And when we start the first project, it does well enough to get there's a new sound in Kenya, and nobody else sounds like that. Even in East Africa, even till now, I don't think anybody sounds like that.
Crazy.
And then because of that, we get so much momentum and so much encouragement to keep pushing. So we do a second project, and off the second project, we made this song. Is called Hahi. It's a video that has like a black exploitation type video. We produced it ourselves, the video, I became the first ever viral video from Kenya.
Crazy, bro.
Which is weird because when at that time radio is not playing us. But when this song comes out and the video, everyone is just like, who are these people? And it's a video that we were living together at the time. So it blew up to the extent where like CNN, Wall Street Journal, all these guys are coming to our small apartment to ask us how we came up with these things. And I feel like that's literally where probably took off proper. And that project was so like we produced it well enough. There's another song that is called Half and Puff that was on Netflix.
Also Big Joint,
yeah, Big Joint, yeah. It was on a Netflix series, Sense8. But all of these things were very encouraging because we didn't have that kind of support. And I was even telling a friend of mine that if we were anywhere else in the world with proper marketing, like that's something that blows up everywhere. But because we're in a space where at the time, no one really knows Kenya for music, Kenya mostly for athletics or some things like those. So we're the first off the gate with that kind of sound.
Do you remember the first show you guys ever played?
The first show, we played small shows. There's a show we played. I think it was a book club called Kwani.
Yeah.
And we used to have like big ass computers, like the Chemical Brothers. So when we're going on stage with these computers, and I was the lead, I remember I used to watch a lot of Calvin Harris performances. And he kind of used to play like that back in the day before he started DJing full time. He used to play with a band. And so because we'd not played enough shows, I was just looking online like whose kind of sounds like this, who we can reference.
Yeah.
And the closest at the time was him. And we played this show. It was my first time ever being at the front. I used to play guitar, but I'd be at the back in like other events, like when I was playing with the homies.
Yes.
So I'd be hiding in the back. So the first time I went on and became the front man, like everyone was like, I didn't even know he had it in him.
Crazy, man. Crazy.
And while my bandmates was like puking in the background because it was too much.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, but then I feel like when I look back at that and all the shows now that I've been able to do over time, that was such a proper initiation moment where
absolutely,
where you feel like you've been thrown into the deep end and now you have to like really defend this idea that you guys have been working on in the background. Yeah, it's ended up being like I thrive off of live shows. Like just before you go on, I feel like your knees are kind of like buckling. Like
nerve-wracking, man.
It's nerve-wracking.
Not easy, bro.
And then when you go on, it's just like it becomes a different person.
Yeah.
So man, let's get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a thrilling thing, man. It's like the energy you get from it, the nerves you have before you step in. But there is a time in your career, once you've done it enough, that once things get started, it's like you've done this so many times, and you, like you say, you become a different person, and you just like feeding off people's energy, and you just like, you control the room. I always just tell people, I was like, it's not about who gets the loudest screams.
Yeah.
It's about who can control the audience to go as quiet as possible if you need them for.
And where they go with them wherever you go.
100%. And that's really where the true art of it comes in. It's special, man. Tell me, how do you transition into your solo career? How does that happen?
So we put out 3 records with just a band. I was like, it became its own successful thing. But at some point, I think a lot of people experience this if you're in a band. There was an exhaustion that came off of it, and off of being pioneering in its own way and in a place that kind of doesn't really understand you that much. Like the people who loved us, who still love us still now, like they're diehards. But then sometimes with artistry, I think it's just difficult, whichever way you spin it. Like whether you're successful or moderately successful or not successful, I think there's something about constantly pushing sometimes against the wind that can be exhausting. And then the other guys who are like, I want to make films, I want to make animation, I want to do this. And then I was left with, this was my dream from when I was a kid. Like, if we're gonna dissolve the band, I have no choice but to keep going.
Okay.
And then I think it was in 2013, I applied for something it was called One Beat in the US and got in. Then the next year I applied for RBMA, which was in Tokyo at the time.
Yeah.
And I was the first East African to get in there. And all my heroes, like so many people who I've looked, I think Flying Lotus,
Crazy,
Black
man.
Coffee, Kulo, all these people who, for me, were such big inspirations, had been part of it. And it kind of gave me a bit more encouragement to push on, because I was having so much doubt if I was doing the right thing, if I was in the right space. And then I went to, actually that year I became a TED Fellow. That was in Brazil. Then I went from Brazil, went to Tokyo, and just meeting all these crazy artists from different parts of the world made me be like, I'm not here by mistake. I'm not here by chance. Like, it was a big pep in my step.
And it validated your dream a lot,
my dream.
yeah.
So when I went back home, I now started thinking of, I want to do my solo projects. And that's literally how it started, where I had a kind of like a downer when the band split.
Yeah.
And then you go through that process of really, should I really be doing this? Like, but what else would I be doing? Like, I quit school. So I don't have like a skill that I could be like, you're employing me for this. I don't have that.
And the name, bro, Blinky Bill, like
that's funny. Is in high school.
Yeah.
There used to be this cartoon called Blinky Bill. It was from Aussie. It was like some koala. And honestly, in high school, people started calling me that because I had like the biggest glasses. And I didn't take on to that name. I kind of felt like a diss. And then one day I saw an article where I was performing with my bandmates and they had my name, my governments. I was like, that sounds so weak, bro. And at the time, I was also listening. I love Danger Mouse, the producer.
Yes, yes.
And Danger Mouse is also from a cartoon, Danger Mouse. So in my head, I was like, oh, this makes sense. Then now I'm stuck with it.
That's so dope, man. What a dope story, bro.
And then, yeah, I'm playing in Australia in like, for the first time in a couple of months.
Incredible.
And yeah, I feel like that name kind of helped me get that gig.
I love that, bro. I love that. That's so part of your identity.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine like a different name. That's so you, man.
Exactly. So,
and there's so many of us that probably don't know the cartoon. We know you.
Shout out Australia.
Yeah. I love that, bro.
So that's how the name came. But I remember there's a time I was in New York. I was just walking the streets, and then I saw Danger Mouse, I was just like, yo, Danger Mouse, it's you. Then he just looked at me and walked up.
That's so funny, bro. Really.
I was like, I'm from Kenya, bro.
My name is because it's like, fuck,
No,
leave
it's
me
too-
alone,
it's too-
damn fans.
It's too hard to
Oh
explain.
man, that's hilarious, bro.
Yeah, but I always had a very strong leaning towards the people that do the more, like, take big risks in terms of sound, because it's a difficult thing to do, particularly in a place like this. I feel like African music is very pop centric right now, which is not. I love pop music, but sometimes I think that I wish we had more space for people who are like proper risk takers, because that's where a lot of the new sound is gonna come from. It's gonna come from the people who take risks. Like, so when you think about a 3-step, for example, like it's so cool that someone was like, oh man, let me do this thing, let me do some subtraction here, and then it becomes a thing. And he's one of those who, like, it's really paid off for him. Stuck in.
Yeah. And look, it's a sound that's been around for a while, you know,
really?
and he filled the gap, you know. It's a sound that, you know, I can tell you now, there are songs 10 years ago that were released that have that same rhythm to it, that you're like, that's 3-step, you know. But I think he was able to package it in a time, and he was able to fill that gap between, okay, if it's in, you know, when he was on the show, he was just explaining, like, between, he felt like the Afro stuff wasn't hitting as hard as the Amapiano stuff, but he wasn't really playing Amapiano. Like, what's that middle ground in between? And then he filled that gap with that sound, and then it very quickly just became synonymous to him being the guy around it. But I think he's just like the guy who really caught it at the right time.
Like,
you know,
it's like
almost
the
it
dove
was around.
landed on his head.
Exactly. It was like the alley hoop was in the air, and he was the guy who saw it, and he said, cool, I'm going to dunk that. And it's a beautiful thing. And it's a beautiful skill. It's a beautiful time to like be able to piece those things together. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's the same with my piano, bro. Yeah. I remember piano playing in like some venues back in the day, or you'd hear it in taxis, or you'd hear it in, and then there was never vocals on it. It was also quite a bit faster, if I'm not mistaken. I don't even think it was at 115. I remember it being way quicker. I could be wrong, but it was like, it would go and was like, usually had someone with keys just freestyling over it. And it was like so different. And again, here come a couple of people. Mdu comes with the log drum in between kicks. Do you know what I mean? And then here comes the gents that slowed down, put the musicality behind it. And like, I watched this interesting clip of Maporisa talking about how like WizKid was with them and was like, yo, what is that sound, bro? And then they were like, okay, we should probably focus here, you know? So yeah, bro, it's a beautiful thing to piece together and to see those little gaps. But I'm with you on the alternative scene, but I feel like this is the process it takes. Like, if there's no Mapiano, maybe there's no 3-step. If there's no Bacardi and Kwaito, maybe there's no Mapiano. And do you know what I mean? All these things.
Exactly, because it's like the combination of Kwaito and house gives us something.
And if you look at the States and you go, okay, pop music, right? Pop, like the pop we've been getting for the last 10 years, all of a sudden the byproduct of that pop is now a Billie Eilish becomes pop, where it's like, it's not really pop. And then she takes alternative music and she makes it pop. So I think similarly with African music, I feel like as much as it's in the pop spectrum now, like I just imagine the subgenres that lead from these things.
I definitely think like, I get to catch things before they like super kick off. So you kind of like see the trajectory. And I remember there's a scene in Nigeria called Alte.
Yes.
And the guys who like were really pushing it have really influenced what we're hearing as Afrobeats right now, because it's a bit more
100%,
complex, a bit more
musical,
more refined, a bit more musical. Before it was just like very basic chords.
Yes.
And then now it's just like, it's quite refined. And
so right, yeah.
And so there's a lot of people who get to work on like behind the scenes, the thing that someone else like. I feel like Wizkid is very good at knowing what's coming next and be like, I'm gonna help on that. Those guys.
Well, I think you play in a similar spectrum because it's especially the guys who get to travel the world a lot. It's the guys who come back home, they hear what's brewing the side, they go and hear what's brewing overseas. They understand, hey, this kick drum is kicking a lot harder than what people are using back home, and they're integrating it back into, So I think you guys that get to see the world, and you can imagine Wiz, where that's his life, where he's touring in a different city every single week, like they are understanding the influences and tying in the pieces and have a much bigger spectrum sonically, And
I also think that a lot of African music, because to be honest, a lot of the innovation right now is coming from Africa and African music. When I think, I was just saying that, I was listening to Common's album, which is B.
Yeah.
I was listening to that project. I'm like, I miss this soulful hip hop.
Yes.
And there's a soulfulness that is missing right now in, let's take out African music, but in global popular music. Because Stevie Wonder was pop music. Michael Jackson was pop music. Like the standards were so high, and then over time they've become like they've really reduced. And then when I'm listening to hip hop right now, there's very few times that I'm just like, this is moving me. I'm just like, I'm so bored of it.
Yeah, I agree with you, bro.
And it's like, then someone will tell you, oh, you're not listening to the right things, or you're not looking. I'm just like, we never used to have to look for this music that hard. Like, it would find you where you are.
Yeah.
And now someone's like, no, your ears, you need to go. I'm just like, nah, ain't nothing you're gonna tell me. Like, I trust my ears 100%. Like, and I trust my taste also. There's a saying in football, soccer, where it's like, I'm so glad we see the game with our eyes and not your opinions. Because if you watch a game and you see someone playing badly, or you see it playing well, you're not gonna need someone to come convince you with statistics.
Yeah, I love that.
Like, I saw the game.
Yeah.
I was like,
I love that. What a great analogy there. What a great metaphor, bro.
Yeah.
100%.
So, and sometimes I'm always wondering, like, who are the proper innovators like right now? When you listen to a Just Blaze track, or you listen to and this again outside of African music, just global music. When you listen to, who's the Kanye? Who's this generation's breakout artist, breakout producer, who could stand toe to toe with people who've come in the past and be like, really hold their own? I'm sure there are. I'm not saying there aren't, but I'm saying that there are not as many as it used to be.
Yeah, they're not as prolific maybe as they used to be. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm with you there, bro. You definitely raise a right point. I mean, I guess that's the exciting thing with African music is like, it feels like the thing that's
the fresh
new kid on the block. And like, what a crazy time. Like, bro, I have to pinch myself sometimes. It's like, it's actually crazy that you open your phone and you see Adidas, like the global Adidas page, and it's like Uncle Waffles next to like Run DMC, the next post, and then next to like these global icons, Missy Elliott, and then you're like, yo, is this real? Which part of the simulation is this? You know,
wild.
You seeing like Coffee doing what he's doing, obviously Trevor what he's done. You're seeing artists across, Burna Boy, what he's doing. It's like, bro, it really is this like insane moment of like, I can't believe this is real and this is actually happening.
It's beautiful and it's inspiring. And I can remember the time when I think it was what's this South African or Nigerian guy. He used to work with Don Jazzy. What is his name?
The bunch.
The Bunch. I'm The Bunch.
Mm.
The Bunch was one of the first ones out the gate. I remember this photo where they met with Kanye at an airport. And for me, that was like
That
mind
was such
blowing.
a moment, right?
And then over time, because the first show we ever played in stateside with just a band was Summer Stage in New York. And we were playing, it was just a band, Theophilus London and Amadou and Mariam. And so it was like us guys from Nairobi who've never really played a show there. And we're in this daunting space. It's just like 5,000 people at the time. And it could even be more.
Crazy. Bro.
And we played first, then Theophilus played second, then Amadou and Mariam closed out the set. And I was watching them and just being like, these guys don't have a single song in English, or at least from what I remember, I could be wrong. But the reaction of the crowd, and they were such expert performers, they know how to work the crowd proper. Mm-hmm. So I came back home and I was thinking, you know what, we need to figure out how to do this thing in that way. Like just learn from them. And I'd be in cabs or on the train listening to the music. And the closest you would hear is that Premier Gao, like as African music, you'd hear Premier Gao and you'd hear Manu Dibango. Hey, Salama Kosa.
Yeah.
Fast forward 10 years later, like there's so much African music that is playing in America. I think it was the year before. I was in San Francisco in a cab. I'd just come from the airport. And I get into the cab and they're playing Tyler. I was like, this is wild. Like there's so much growth for African music in that sense. But then on the flip side, there's not enough proper representation because, and I guess we all can't have that level of success and the kind of investment that's been done to put that music that we're hearing there is a lot. So it's opened the gate for all of us.
100%, man.
But sometimes I'll be listening to music from Sudan, from Kenya, some from Mali, some from... I'm always like, man, I wish we had capacity for all of this great music to really be heard. And I do feel that the OGs of African music, like the Hughes, the Fellas, those guys, were a lot more Pan-African than our class of artists. So they had if something is happening in Kenya, you would hear it in a Huma Sekela song. Yeah. If something is happening wherever, you'd hear it mentioned in a Fela Kuti song. Yes. Or Miriam Makeba song. They had an understanding that we also need to move together. And yeah.
That's so true, man.
So that's one of the things that I feel like is
lacking.
Could be an improvement on where we are right
now. You're right, bro. Crazy story about the bunch. Must be almost 17 years ago, something like that, bro. The bunch was asked to do the opening of the Channel O Music Awards. In fact, we were asked to do the opening together. Then they were like, okay, George, there's this Nigerian artist. You guys are doing the opening, you're doing a rehearsal. Then Channel O is like, listen, can you go fetch him? He's in Randburg. They don't have a ride here. We're waiting for him. I'm like, yeah, I'll go fetch him. No worries. I'll go fetch him and Don Jazzy. It's the three of us in the car. In my old beat up Mazda. We get in the car. Coco Master there, Debanj. I'm Debanj.
I'm the bunch.
Then I remember we did our rehearsals. We put this whole show together, and then Debanj was like, "Yo, do you know where we can buy clothes?"
Yeah.
Then I took them to. There used to be this shop called Hip Hop Connection, bro. They used to have Bape and all these things, but everything was fake. We just didn't know at that time, I took him there, bro, and I'll never forget. They were like, "Yo, this is crazy, George." They would tell me "Do you know, in our country we can't walk the streets? Yo, we'll get mobbed. You can't believe we're huge."
Yeah.
Then not a single person knew who Debanj was.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to must have been a couple of years later, he does the whole signed by Kanye. Kanye's in his music video and was such a moment for the continent, man. It was everybody thought, wow, this is actually possible. We could take it to that level,
And that goes back to my point earlier, is I feel like we really owe a huge debt to those guys who took some of those risks.
Definitely.
Because I feel like just that thing that happened with Kanye, Debanj, and Don Jazzy changed the game for so many people. People saw oh, it's possible. Oh, we can do it.
And that I have contact. Yo in the clubs, dog. Yes. You'd hear that song in South Africa.
Yeah.
Back to back, bro. Back to back.
And it's one thing I really love about South Africa is I feel like the musical education is so high. Is maybe that I could be overestimating it, but I do feel like when I'm here, I listen to such a wide range of sounds.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll be in a cab and the guy is playing jazz. I'm like, this is quite fascinating.
No, but you spot on, bro. The music IQ here is insane. And it has been for a very long time. And I think it just stems back to all the way from jazz to genres that were created. And I think we've also just South Africa has this way of being brave to package something as a new genre. Yeah. Hey, we have a new one. Not all of them catch, but it's anything we do is this is what this genre is from this area. This is what this genre is from this area. And it's and we celebrate it. And as South Africans, I think we're still very tight with our don't. Yeah. It mustn't leave.
It mustn't leave. Sometimes you want to protect.
Sometimes
they want to gatekeep.
Which is crazy for me because I have this conversation with my friends and I'm like, yo, isn't it crazy that so many artists in South Africa or across the African continent can speak with an American accent and they've never been to America, and then and then the Americans love that, they celebrate it, and then can you imagine it was the other way around, an American artist speaking like an African and he's never been to Africa? We would cancel you so fast.
What's the name of why the funny money, funny money, funny money. Funny Miana, funny.
Oh yes. I know who you're talking about.
They were the music was so South African, but the accents, the American accents were heavy. I just listened to their songs yesterday.
Yeah.
But I loved that fusion, actually.
Yeah.
It's only recently is when it's man, these American accents are heavy in these songs.
Crazy, eh? It's crazy. Bro, a couple more questions before we wrap up. Do you feel like you can identify a hit song? Can you listen to a song and say, that's going to be a smash hit?
I think so.
Okay.
So I'm friends with Manifest from Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
And we're chilling at his house. I think he introduced me to the song AKA and Nasty C.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just chilling and he played it. I'm just like, let me play you this jam.
Lemonade.
I'm like, man, this is one of the best produced songs I've had. Honestly, even till now. Sometimes I listen to that song. Jeez, the chords, and then there was a song by Libyanka, because people, it was just coming out at the time, I told him, bro, this song is gonna be. Thank you for introducing me to this song. And we're listening to this other song. I'm like, this song is gonna be next. And then he laughed off of it. He laughed a bit, like I don't see it. Then a few months later, when it blew up proper, I was just like, yo, you told me this. And several times, it's happened even with myself. Like the song that went viral that I was telling you about, I took it to radio stations in Kenya, and I told them, yo, this song, there's something here. And they're like, nah, we won't play this song because it's not what our radio plays. I was like, it's cool. And then it blew up so massively that the people who told me this thing would never work ended up calling me back again to be like, can we have that song? And I got so mad. But then I think that one of the things that I also have to be a bit more gracious about is that a part of being an artist and doing this thing for a while is to realize that it's not everybody sees the thing as you see it. And one of my engineers, the guy who mixes a lot of my records, used to work on the Fugees. He worked on Lauryn Hill's project. It's called Commissioner Gordon. And there's a time I was so frustrated because I was like, I'm trying to explain things to people and I don't think they're getting it. And he told me, you know, when we took Lauryn's project, The Miseducation, we were told that there's no hit in there. There's no hit. And I think a big part of doing this is you do this because you believe in it. Some of it might look like delusion. And I don't think you're going to get 100% right on everything. But there's things that blow up even 40 years after.
100%.
And was that person, when they were making it, were they wrong? They weren't wrong.
That's a great point, bro.
There's that lady who died, whose song became like a TikTok frenzy in the last few months. And it was a hit, a mini hit back then. And then decades later, now it became like a proper hit just before she died.
I just saw one now the other day. It was like a band that released a song 7 years ago. Yeah. And 7 years later, the song just went crazy on TikTok. And now they living off that track. It's crazy.
Exactly. So it's, to my point is like, they were not wrong. It was just like, it was an idea that maybe was too, and I hate that phrase, ahead of its time, because if you're living in this time, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, exactly.
But I've felt that there's so many records that I've worked on that I always feel like I could be delusional, but I always feel like maybe another generation will understand it better because this current one has too many preconceived ideas of what this ahead should be. When someone like Quincy made Thriller at 50.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I think before that, you'd be like, he'd worked on records with Sarah Vaughan and Miles Davis and Frank Sinatra and all these people. I think that was just helping him filter out properly what's necessary for the music. And so in that case, I always feel like the music, once it's good and you've delivered it in the way that it's supposed to be, just whenever it takes off, it's going to take off. And
do you remember we were on a meeting with without mentioning names and stuff, but we're on a meeting
Yeah.
with some guys in Germany. You were on the call, I was on the call, then everyone picked a song of yours.
Yeah.
Then I picked a different song from the company where I was at. I was like, that's not the one.
Yeah.
It's this one. There was that joint you did, that so good. And then where's the highway? To the highway. That beat. Yes. Yo. Track is crazy,
honestly,
bro.
it's the hard thing about being really musical in a place where you don't have the support infrastructure for you, because that's one thing I really admire about here, is that because people love music, sometimes you don't have to explain things too much. But in places where music is also contextual, like there's music that I used to hear from Ghana, and I didn't get it up until I spent time in Ghana. Then I understood, okay, this is why your music sounds like this. And I'm always, when you listen to, like, I'll say Pharrell, because some of those songs should not have been hits, ideally. Like, the songs that are like, so it's just a drum,
just the rhythm,
and they're rapping to it, but it's just like, if you get it, you get it. But they're in a place where you can pull off something like that, and there's gonna be enough of a critical mass to be like, you know what, we can get behind this thing.
Yeah, it's tricky. You know, you're in a market like America, you have global distribution.
Yeah.
Where, like, if something's hot in the UK, it's not hot around the world. It's hot in the UK. If something's hot in South Africa, it's not hot around the world. Like, now that's changing, just because Africa is like the word that's on the tip of everyone's tongue. But for the longest of time, bro, if something's hot around the world, it's usually only hot in America.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how it was. If you could break in that pond, like, then you can pop off.
And Americans know how to package things to make 100%. You feel like, yo, we're the first ones.
Yeah.
To ever do this.
But that's changing, bro.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's changing because the internet, because social media,
because the internet.
You know, and so today you can be out in freaking Chad, and you can drop a track from there.
Yeah.
And if it hits the internet and makes the rounds, and it's something different, something unique, it could completely change your life.
You know, I was listening to the last Bad Bunny record, and I loved it because he sounded so free, and he introduced us to a world. And that's the power of marketing as well, where he sounded so himself, but also the music gives you a portal into a world that you don't really know, which I think South African music is very good at for the rest of us who are not from here. And you get to tap into a culture that it feels familiar because we're Africans, but it's also unfamiliar because it's a very different way of.
But it's crazy because a lot of people see it and it looks like that's how South Africa is. But there was a time where the hip hop artists were not put on, and they were fighting for radio. There was a time South Africans were fighting to be on radio, bro. 98% of the music that was played in South Africa was international music, and 2% was local. And that's what every fight on Twitter was about, you know? There was a time where, bro, like, the house music guys couldn't get in. There was a time where, like, the Amapiano thing wasn't being taken seriously. And then people like Major League were laughed at because they were like, you're a hip-hop DJs. Now you're doing this. Now culture vulture. Okay. And then now you see, like, it's like a whole different world. So I think it's just changing. But
and also in Kenya, we have, like, this chick called Sophia Nzao, who has, like, had a big song called Mwaki. And it was everywhere.
Okay, let's check
Oh,
it out.
Nakamasabena
Oh yeah, of course, of course, yeah.
The first time the first day I heard that song, I played it on loop because the producer is Brazilian, I think, and he's gone on to like work with a lot of super big artists. But that mashup was so beautiful, and it's like for a lot of Kenyans, it was like that's our possibility. Then there's a friend of mine called Eid Aziz, and Eid has become such a go-to vocalist for a lot of house records.
Crazy.
Yeah, and I've also started working on like a bunch of house records as well.
Bro, I must link you with some people. I must link you with Mojaki. It's a guy from SA. A lot of guys in like selection circles, and also like just came from Brazil, like very influenced on that sound, but makes like dancey-esque R&B bounce type beats, but like crazy. I must put you in touch. You guys will do something crazy. Tell me, what else can you put us onto some people that we should be listening to in Kenya? Put us onto, is EA Wave still doing their thing, bro?
I don't think they're still doing their thing. I think some of the guys like Hiribai, you know.
Yeah. How is Hiribai?
He's been DJing a lot.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, he's like fast becoming one of the biggest DJs.
Crazy,
in the city.
bro.
And there's so many interesting artists who are doing their thing. You'd have like who I think the one that people would know a bit much more of now would be Bien. You'd have like Sophia Nzao, Eid Aziz, Flyer. There's a chick called Jerai. It's a group called We Are Nubia who are cool as hell. There's a band called Watenda Wili who are like on that Afro R&B tip. But to be honest, there's so many artists. Like when I started out and where it is right now, it's like a portal opened. And like when I play a show, someone will come up and be like, "Man, I'm a new artist. I'm enjoying doing this." I'm like, man, this is you know that thing when the Avengers were fighting. And there's a portal that opened, and all of these people that came out, I was like, who are all these people?
That's crazy, man. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. Tell me, if you were to do it all over again, and you are a brand new artist sitting here in front of me, and you're from Kenya, and you haven't even dropped a single song yet, what is the advice you would give to that person, and how would you tackle the industry if you were that person?
I think I've felt like I've been brave, but I would be even more braver because sometimes, you know, I think we live in a world right now where I'm not the biggest fan of it, like your personal brand, all that, but it does work where you see a lot of people who are just brave in exposing themselves to the world, and they do that. Like, I'm sure they have like a thing that makes them feel embarrassed when they see themselves, but it's not a factor that prevents them from doing their thing. I think that's what I would be better at. I'd be better at self-promo because I sometimes cringe.
You and most great artists do, bro. I deal with so many artists.
At self-promotion, I'm like, man, I wish we were still back in the time when the music did the work for it itself. Like, I'm just like, I don't need to know what Sade ate for breakfast, man. Just give me the music. I don't need to know what D'Angelo did last night. Just give me the music. But that time has changed. Maybe in the next 10 years it's gonna flip and we're gonna have to go back to being a bit more mysterious, which is what I'm very comfortable with. But I think the times also necessitate what your strategy is like. And yeah, I'd be more braver. I'd be even more prolific, because sometimes it feels like music, even the good music now has a shorter shelf life. Like if someone sits with an album for 2 weeks, it's an achievement. So yeah, I'd be strategically more prolific. I'd have to figure out, how do I push myself more.
I love that, bro.
Yeah.
That's super powerful and such a unique answer, bro.
Yeah. What do people normally say?
Well, no, you hear the normal consistency and you hear the practical ways to get there, but I think yours touches on far more of a mindset than just the practical side of it, because that's really what it comes down to, you know. And it's like to have that to be brave and to take that step is such great advice, because it's such a fine line, bro, between you make something great and you make something that you're going to cringe. Yeah. And had you not made those things that you were going to cringe, like you would have never broken through. And you know this with like artists in studio, and it's like the great artists have a way of being carefree and not being worried to mess up in studio and do a line a funny way or joke about something. It's like that's where the magic lies. The ones who are free enough to express themselves fully and be able to laugh at themselves and not to take it too seriously. Because the truth is, like, what you live, if you're lucky, 70, 80 years on this planet, your time is so limited. And you know what? Like, does anyone going to sit there and go, yeah, this one time Blinky said this on the mic by accident? Like, no, bro. They'll probably remember the great piece of art that you left, you know, and they'll probably remember that show that you played and how it made them feel. You know what I mean? So I love that advice. It's like, be brave and put your stuff out. Like, what's the worst that could happen, you know?
Yeah. And sometimes, like this week, I've been really hearing so much conversation about Tyler. And I think, man, she's such a brave artist. I feel like America sometimes can be so unforgiving, because it's such a popcorn place. It's just like, you're hot right now, and now we are used to you. It's very hard for things to stick. And sometimes you have to like really take so much damn criticism. Like there's no proper rationale behind it, and you have to, as an artist who's like, you can also feel so much, you have to sit there and listen to all these opinions about your art, and it's like, man, you guys should shut up. But I feel like, she's in the right place, and ain't nothing like a good comeback. You just need to figure out how to take all those things. You know, like I love Muhammad Ali, man. I think that's one of the greatest. Like, that's one person I wish could have been my friend. And after being stripped off of his title for something that's unreasonable, and having to face like years on the sidelines for no reason, like that comeback, like you just have to be practicing that comeback, man. And just like come up with something that, because if you did it once, you can do it again.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I agree with that so much, man. Like I resonate with so much, because in my career I've worn so many different hats and been so many different people. And, you know, there's always that one fear in the beginning where you're like, yo, I won't be able to live up to who I was then. Yeah. But like the truth is, like you said, if you've done it once, you're going to do it again. Now, after doing it like 4 or 5 times, I'm like, every time I change something, I'm like, yo, just watch 6 months,
don't
baby,
believe
I'm
me,
coming.
Don't believe me,
just watch. Trust me. You know, I really relate to that, bro. That's super special, man.
Yeah, I just love when people reinvent themselves and evolve, and I feel like this life, there's an album of mine called Everyone's Just Winging It and Other Fly Tales. And the reason, and like the underlying message is like that where you are is not where you are. Like you can be more. And I always say like I've not made my best work.
I love that, bro.
So everything I've made is leading me to that point, but I've not made it yet. And it's like, y'all don't have to believe me. I don't care. Like, but I know for a fact that there's something that it might take me a long time to make it, but the day I'm on that path, I know it's gonna come.
Incredible, bro.
Yeah.
I can see that about you. Still got that sparkle in your eye, bro. You still like you've got that hunger of someone who's the newcomer and not someone who's like legendary status, but yet you are, bro. So just to give you your flowers, my bro, from my side. As I said in the beginning, man, I see you as such a legend, bro. It's been an honor for our paths to cross. I bumped into you on the street. I was like, yo, come on to my podcast, bro. But it's like I was saying earlier, like the same way I see coffee is the same way I see you. And you've got that legendary status, bro. And you've got that understanding and that nurturing. And you're just like, you're real, man. You're the same guy I met years ago. You're the same dude today. And it's like, I don't doubt your best work is yet to come, bro.
Yeah.
And my last question to you, bro, before we wrap up the show is, how would you like to be remembered?
How would I like to be remembered? I'd like to be remembered as someone who was really passionate about Africa as a whole and what we are and what we have to offer the world. And, like, I really believe in us, man. Like, at the heart of it, that's literally why I've played in so many different places on this continent. And every time I go somewhere else that's new, I go with a sense of reverence. Like, I wanna learn more. I wanna understand. I wanna be like a student. So, but also on the flip is over time, I think when I'd be back home and I'd be like, oh, I'm hearing Amapiano is a new wave. And I'd be like, as someone who lives in a different part of the continent, I want to be able to offer you, like if you came to my house for dinner, I don't want to offer you a meal that you have when you're in South Africa, and to offer you the best of what I could possibly offer you when you come to Kenya.
I love that.
And so I'm always just like, I'm inspired by every single dope thing that is taking place in Africa, because it makes me be like, oh, okay, what's my version of this thing that I could also offer to the sonic palette? And maybe in future when I make a movie, or movies, I want to be able to make things that resonate, but also invite you to a world that you didn't know that you wanted to know about.
That's powerful, bro.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
My brother,
Thank
such
you,
an
man.
honor, bro. Thank
Vibes.
You, bro. Appreciate you, bro. Thank you for making time, bro.
Thank you, man.
And we look forward to watching your movie.
Hey.
Look forward to you catching your producer awards.
Hey, thank you,
your
man.
Oscars.
Oscars.
We'll be there, bro. And then we can sit there and talk about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it was so good to run into you here.
Yeah, bro. Absolutely.
I came in low key, but I feel like SA is always like a second home to me. I have so many good friends here: Muzi, Sanel, Msaki.
Amazing.
I think this year I met an artist called Leomile and Monet.
Yeah.
And they've been so, like, they're my family away from family.
Yeah.
So I have nothing but the utmost love and respect for this country.
Incredible, bro. And South Africa loves you, man. I love how I'm the spokesperson for South Africa.
Thank you, South Africa.
On behalf of South Africa, we love you too, my bro. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, man. Cool. Thanks, man.